Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Jurassic Collector here, and today I have a really exciting review for you guys because as you can see here in front of me, I am going to take a look at the brand new Mattel Jurassic World Dominion Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus. So we finally have the mainline Giganotosaurus for the Jurassic World Dominion toy line. The original super colossal Giganotosaurus got released back in April along with the Wave 1 figures for Jurassic World Dominion toy line, but this mainline Giganotosaurus figure was reserved and held back for Wave 2. Wave 2 is supposed to be dropping apparently from June 1st onwards, but I managed to get my hands on this a little bit earlier. I did pre-order this off of Amazon UK a few weeks back, and actually the pre-order shipped earlier than expected. And here I have it in my hands now today to take a look at with you guys here on the channel. So like I said, I got this off Amazon UK and it was €45, which is actually pretty good because when it's coming to Smiths, they have a listing for it on Smiths website as well. And Smiths are expecting to get it from like the 1st of June onwards for that Wave 2 release date. In Smiths, it's going to be €65. So I got it for €20 cheaper off of Amazon, which is a huge saving. So I'm very happy about that. And I will have a link down below for you guys to check it out on Amazon. So if you want to cop this figure for yourself, I will have a link down below. So let's just take a closer look at the packaging. So we have our classic Jurassic World Dominion packaging that we've become accustomed to now. So we have the Jurassic World Dominion logo here, a big version of the logo that's cut out there. We come across, it says Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus. Then we have some pictures showing the action features. So we can see here it says Strike, and then here it has Chomp, and then we have the Mattel logo. And then when we come up, we can see the back of the packaging is actually cut out there to accommodate for the action feature of the figure itself, which you can see here. Then we come up here on top, we can see it has a sound emblem, and it shows one of the action features with an arrow to point to the action feature so you can try it before you buy it. And then we come across and we have the Jurassic World Facts app there showcasing the DNA scan code feature, which all of these new Jurassic World Dominion figures feature. And then very hiddenly underneath there, you can see there's another call out for another button that's underneath the tail, which activates another one of the action features on this figure. And then when we come over here, we can see a massive version of Rexy there, that beautiful render. It's really cool. I absolutely love that render. On this end of the packaging, we just have the Pyroraptor render with the Circle Jurassic World Dominion emblem. And on this end again, we have that Circle Jurassic World Dominion T-Rex emblem again. So here we have the back of the packaging. We can see the Jurassic World Dominion logo again, Giganotosaurus. We can see the figure in action there. We have a sound emblem, some more action pictures. We have the Jurassic Facts app call out again. And then over on this side, we have two other of the large kind of deluxe figures that are available in the Jurassic World Dominion lineup. So we have the Thrash and Devourer Tyrannosaurus Rex figure and the Sound Slashing Therizinosaurus. And on the inside of the packaging, we have that beautiful amber aesthetic down there on the base, as you can see again. And it looks so cool. I really love that amber base that they're using for these figures packaging with the really just contrasts really well with that blue there. I really love that. So I think that's enough about the packaging. All that's left to do now is get this Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus figure out of the packaging. And now here we have the Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus out of the packaging. When I got this figure, I thought it would be bigger for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'm actually liking what I'm seeing here. I have it posed like this, as you can see. It looks cool in this position, but normally the action feature it just kind of like wobble to one side there, as you can see. And that is because of the action feature, but we will take a look at that, of course, later on in the video. But you can position it if you just put it up like so. It is actually quite easy to position it like this, and you can kind of move it and it like stays in that position there. So that's cool. So at least it's not, we kind of all thought originally it would just be kind of stuck in this awkward position. And it still is frustrating because you can't actually pose it like completely straight, like up, normally just straight, but you can pose it like this, but then it is kind of looking over to one side. But when you're posing it from the side, like from the side view like that on your shelf or anything, at least you can actually pose it like this and it's not just going to look floppy like this the whole time. It is quite easy. You just kind of like lift it up into place like that and then it just kind of holds there. If you shake it, it will fall down, but if it's just on your shelf for display, you can just pose it like that. And there are of course things that I will get into later on as well that could have been done better, but yeah, so let's just first take a close look at the sculpt of the Giganotosaurus. So here we have the head sculpt, and you can see there it resembles the movie Giganotosaurus pretty well. It does have the like head crest. They're not as pronounced as they are in the actual movie, however, probably for safety reasons, I'm not sure. There's nice sculpted detail on the head. There's like larger scales along the crest here, pretty large scales, and then some finer ones across the face itself. And the face is, in comparison to like some parts of the body, kind of soft in detail, but it still has a bunch of detail packed in. You can even see there's some scars there and everything. We have the teeth, which I'm very impressed with on this figure actually. Sometimes Mattel normally kind of blunts the teeth down for safety reasons, obviously. And these, I mean, they are blunt on these. They're not super sharp, but you can see they are actually, they look quite decent. They're pretty thin as well. They're not big chunky teeth like they do give some of their carnivore figures. And I'm really happy with that. The teeth are a separate molded piece in the mouth there, as you can see, like they do with some other figures. So there is going to be no paint rub from those or anything. They're going to be just molded in that color. So that's great. And you can also see there is like a double layer to the teeth, like a shark. If I can get close enough, you can see there, yeah. There's like a layer outside, but then there's also a layer inside of smaller teeth. And you can see that up there too. There's like 2 rows of teeth. That's seriously cool. I'm really impressed with that. We do have some nice sculpted detail in the mouth there as well. It's not insanely detailed, like some of the previous like T-Rexes, for example, from Mattel, but there is some detail there on the tongue, and then just some kind of like lines under the tongue there for the gums. The back there has some sculpting detail as well, as does the roof of the mouth. You can see there is some lines. The roof of the mouth is pretty flat up there, as you can see. It doesn't go up very high there. It's just kind of right there where the teeth are and everything. But the mouth looks good. The teeth are very impressive on this. I actually really like the teeth, and they interlock with each other absolutely perfectly, as you can see there. It looks super menacing. Very impressed with those teeth. And then when we come back down, we do have larger scales there. Then for the actual body sculpting itself here along the neck, you can see we have just lots of lines sculpted in there, fine lines and detail, which looks great. The arm has a lot of fine lines sculpted in there, and even down to the actual claws on the hand, which unfortunately are not painted. We have some kind of scaling details starting then around this area, as you can see here. We have those lines here in the neck area, and then it kind of transitions into some scaling detail. And of course we can see some of that spike detail up there in the neck as well, and that spike detail runs down along, and then we have the iconic, you know, from Jurassic World, the Minions Giganotosaurus, the iconic like hump of spike there in the back there. You can see that there is some great detail packed in. We have some larger scales there. Those scales look really large there, as you can see, so definitely they're like a coating of armor almost to protect the Giga. Along with these top spikes as well, they would also be, I'm assuming, like armor for the Giganotosaurus. We have some really nice like skin wrinkles down here along the bottom of the figure, and then back here we have some insane detail packed in. A lot of detail. The leg is very impressive. You can see all of that really fine scaling detail going on there. It's very impressive. So that's what I mean. Like the leg there has a bunch of detail. The head has detail too, but you can see in comparison, the head is softer in detail, for example, compared to that leg. The leg is so much finer scale sculpted into it there. We have the knees. There's even some like scarring marks all over the figure. Even up here, you can see some scars kind of sculpted in. So this Giga has definitely seen better days. Then we come down, we have the feet there. There's a lot of nice fine detail on the foot there as well. You can see it looks great. The toe claws, however, don't have a huge amount of detail. There's a few kind of lines sculpted in there, as you can see, but nothing insane. But considering how much detail is in the leg and the feet and the whole body itself, really, it doesn't really irk me much. It's only toe claws, and they are painted, which I'm really happy about. The back nail here, however, is not painted. That looks cool. If it was painted, it would be really cool. Then when we come back here, we see even more of that kind of armor running along the top. That runs along the whole figure. And then we have more of those large protective scales as well there. Again, a bunch more finer scale details sculpted in. We even have more scarring back here. And then just some kind of like looser skin hanging along there, and you can see that, like I said, that armor runs all the way along the tail there. And then we do just have some like lines sculpted in then underneath that for the rest of the tail. This side is the same really for detail. A very nice sculpt, I have to say. There's a lot of detail packed in, and it's a mix between like finer scaling going on, larger scaling, and then of course these big ridges. There's a lot of texture going on with this figure compared to some of the other Mattel figures in the lineup, and there's a bunch of different type of detail, you know, and I think that's really impressive, and it really sets this figure apart from some others, because it has so many different types of sculpted detail in it. We can see here we have a big gap, which I don't really like, but that is of course for the DNA scan code there, but it does leave quite a big gap on this side of the figure. That's the kind of only issue I have with that there, but that lifts up. Of course, we have the T-Rex emblem there, and then here we have the actual Fax app sticker if you want to scan that in to your Jurassic Fax app. So overall, I'm actually very impressed with the detail on this figure. It's very, very, very good. There's some really, really finer scales going on. Then there's also larger kind of sculpted lines throughout the whole neck area. Then we have big, large protective scales along the top of the back here. And then we have that huge ridge that runs along into that big hump there along the middle of the body, and it runs down. And that's like a big protective kind of coating for the dinosaur. And that, of course, looks so unique and different to any other Mattel dinosaur or any Jurassic dinosaur in the franchise, really. It just is a really, really nice sculpt, and it really does help distinguish this figure from other Mattel carnivores in this kind of scale. Throughout the whole figure, there's a bunch of detail packed in for a mainline figure. So yeah, very impressed with the sculpt on this figure. So now let's talk about the paint job of this figure. The majority of the body is molded in this kind of green gray color. It's a very, very unique kind of green color. It looks pretty similar to the Super Colossal Giga. I don't personally own that one, but it does look pretty similar to that. And then we have some really nice black paint applied throughout. So on the head here, we have some of that really nice black paint, and that's applied to kind of the top of the head here as well, the ridges there. There is none on the actual top of the head there, it's kind of blank, but there is some of that black patterning running along the ridge at the top of the head there. We do have that patterning throughout the face, which is really nice. We have a yellow eye with a slit pupil that is painted black, and that looks good. The pupil is kind of looking upward. It's not like a misprint on this figure, it is on both sides, and that's just actually the way it's placed on it. It's perfectly centered in the center of the eyeball, but it's just the way the paint kind of makes it look like it's looking up, which is unique and different. And then of course the teeth are molded in this cream color, and then the inside of the mouth, it's a really weird mouth color for a dinosaur. We've never really seen it. It's a very, very pale pink color, very pale, but the whole mouth is just molded in this color there, and the roof of the mouth as well. The Super Colossal also has this kind of same color, so I'm assuming that's kind of what the mouth of the Giganotosaurus looks like in the minion. Then of course we have more of this black just running throughout. It's all just pattern. The ridge along the top here is all painted black, and then we have that black patterning along there as well, which looks great. I didn't realize this until I kind of had it in hand. It's a very subtle difference, but the bottom jaw is actually a different color to the top jaw. It's a very, very nuanced, very, very slight difference, but I think you can kind of see it on camera there. That's not light playing a trick, that's actually, the bottom jaw is a different color, because underneath the figure, there is some of this lighter kind of green color. It matches perfectly actually, which is nice, and that runs along the figure only to about here. It stops here. I wish it kind of continued underneath the whole way, considering it's one, you know, the large deluxe figure for this lineup, but it does stop there. It's really hard to notice. Even in person, it isn't that noticeable, but you can kind of tell it's there. It's very slight. There is no like traditional kind of cream underbelly that's on some of these carnivore figures. There is that on the Super Colossal version, but on this version they chose to go for a lighter green, and it's very subtle, but it is there. And then like I said, there is no paint for the claws on the arms, unfortunately, but that's just kind of a standard at this point from Mattel. We have this black patterning again running all throughout the body. The ridge there along the top is nice. It's all black there, as you can see, with some of that green kind of seeping through the pattern there. The leg even has some patterning on it, which I really do appreciate, and that's one of the reasons why I got this instead of the Super Colossal. On the Super Colossal figure, there is no paint on the legs or even on the toe claws on the Super Colossal version, so this version definitely has more paint in, like, for the size of the figure. So we do have some nice leg paint there, and that is applied on both sides too. And the patterning, it just looks great. That leg paint really just helps make it pop a little bit more and look a little bit more realistic than just like a plain green leg. So I'm happy they did kind of keep that patterning on the leg there. And then that ridge there along the back, it's the black just kind of just stops abruptly here, unfortunately, and then the rest of that ridge along the back and the tail there is all just that green color, unfortunately. I wish that was just painted even with just some black running along there, because it does look a bit stark because it's black paint and then it just goes to green. But we do have more of that black patterning just kind of at the side of the tail there, each side, and then that's where it stops. There isn't any continuing on, unfortunately, and that is the same for this side. I mean, the paint is the exact same on this side of the figure, as you can see there, and then the black stops for the ridge there, and then there's just some kind of that patterning painted on there again, and then none for the tip of the tail, like I said. The toe claws on this figure are painted though, which is a nice addition, because like I said, on the Super Colossal Giganotosaurus there is no toe claw paint, so I'm very happy they kept it on this mainline version. It definitely helps it look better and look more complete. And then throughout the body there is some of this white marbling that is going on. That is on, like, most of the Dominion figures have these, but they're not, it's not super apparent throughout the whole body on this one like some of the others. Like, there's a lot of it on the foot here, and then some of it on the leg, but the rest of the body's pretty kind of lacking it. There's not a huge amount of it going on there. There is some of it on the head there, and I really do like that marbling. I think it makes the figures look a little bit better. It makes the figures pop a little bit more too and look less flat, so you can see some of it more there. It's not hugely apparent on this figure like it isn't on most of the figures. To get the full effect of the marbling, they need to put more of the plastic into the actual figure, because we do have it a bit here as well. If they are going all out on it, I kind of feel like they need to put more of it into the actual figure, but it still helps the figure to pop a little bit and stand out and look a little bit different. So overall, the paint job is actually pretty nice on this figure. It is just kind of lacking some of that black paint along the tail there. Like I said, it really kind of needs it, considering the difference between that green and black is so stark that it's so obvious that there is no paint there. I would have even done without this, kind of just these two markings here. So if they had to scrap that and just added that paint along like the ridges along the back, I would have preferred that. But for what we have, it's still a really nice figure, and I do appreciate that there is paint on the legs, which is something we don't see that often from Mattel. And also there's paint all along the face there as well. So overall, I am quite impressed with the paint job. It looks pretty faithful to the movie's counterpart. So now let's talk about articulation. So the head, the jaws, they're kind of open, but they're tied to the action feature. Then we have the arms here, so the arms can move up and back like so. They can't go 360, they just kind of want to only go up to there and back to here, and the same with the arm here on the opposite side. And they do not go out and in like some of the other previous Mattel figures, unfortunately. They just kind of go up and down. It would have been nice if they did go out and in, but they just do rotate up and down. There is of course that cut out section in the body for the action feature, so this can move. It's posable like this kind of way, you know, and you can pose it the opposite side too, so you can kind of get in two positions there. But other than that, it just hangs kind of at a weird angle there. So we do have articulation in the legs, so that the figure can be positioned upright like this, and also it kind of goes down, but it makes a weird clicking sound, so I don't really like the sound of that. It's a bit concerning. But the legs can move independently of each other, so they aren't tied to each other, which is nice. So they can be posed independently like so. Maybe you could get it in a running position, but I don't think it will stay. No. But yeah, maybe if we get a potential Hammond collection version of this in the future, it would be really cool. We also have the traditional ankle articulation there that helps it kind of fit in the packaging as well. But it would also help, like for example, if you have the figure on an uneven surface, it kind of helps to position the ankles in different ways so that you can get it to stand easier. Then we also have articulation, which isn't really common on Mattel carnivore figures, specifically figures this size. So we have two articulation points in the tail. And I originally, when I saw this figure at first, I thought maybe the tail was tied to the action feature because of those like points of movement, but they're not. It's just kind of, there's just a point there of articulation that just lets you kind of waggle the tail from side to side there like so. And maybe it's so that you can just kind of like hit a dinosaur like that, and it just kind of has a natural-ish movement to it. I'm not sure, but there is another point down here too, which can also be posed. It's not like stiff articulation, it does just kind of stay there when you move it, so that's nice, but it can just be easily manipulated and just kind of like, it's loose, but it's intentionally loose so that it just swings like this. So you could kind of like swing the tail a little bit like that if you wanted to, or you could like hit another dinosaur maybe with the tail or something, I'm not sure. But there is those 2 points of articulation there, which we don't really see on figures, especially carnivore figures of this size from Mattel. So overall, that gives this figure a total of 8 points of articulation, which is a little bit more than we traditionally get on a carnivore of this size from Mattel. Again, those 2 points of articulation in the tail kind of, they add to that. So now let's talk about the action features of this figure. So there are 2 action features really with this figure. So there's a button on the back right here. As you can see, there's a button here. Now this button is actually made from like a really soft rubber. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that there, but it's very soft, very squishy rubber. So I'm guessing so that it's not like going to hurt kids or whatever when they're like pushing down the button to activate the action feature. So let's do the first action feature now, and let's show you guys how it works. So you push down on this button back here and it will do its striking feature. So as you can see, the whole body literally like just rotates, and the head, the mouth kind of snaps open a little bit as well. And it also makes two different sounds when you press that button there. So there's two different sound effects through that kind of like striking action feature. And it works actually pretty cool, but it does hinder the kind of natural appearance. You can have the figure, like I said, in a normal kind of just straight on look. It's always angled over to one side, or you can kind of lock it on, like I said, just like that, but you can't have it straight, and that is obviously because of the action feature. But then here on the bottom of the figure, you can also see there's another button on the bottom underneath here, and so that button will activate a roar. So let's take a look. So I think it makes about 2 or 3 sounds, I'm not too sure there, but I think it was like 2 sounds as well with that roaring feature. So that gives this figure a total of like 4 different sounds. And the 2 action features can be used in conjunction with each other, both the strike and the chomp, if you press both buttons at the same time. So I'll show you guys what that looks like now. So that action feature, it's definitely different than any other carnivore figure we have from Mattel. We've never gotten a figure with an action feature like this. But yeah, I think kids will have a blast with that action feature. Now in the back of the box, it does say you can strike kind of a smaller dinosaur with it. So I have an Atrociraptor here. I've tried already before this, and I couldn't get it to work. The jaw mechanism on the figure is too weak to actually be able to like pick up a figure. But I'll just show you guys anyways. So you're supposed to pick up a figure like this and then pull it up in the air, but the springs in the jaw are too loose to kind of hold a bigger dinosaur like this. If I lift it up, you can see it just kind of falls straight out of the mouth. So I'd probably recommend doing it with a human most. So we'll get a human in here. So we have Dr. Ian Malcolm. So if I get the Giga down in position, open the mouth, and we'll chomp on Dr. Ian Malcolm. So then we lift the body up, and we do the strike. So the action feature works pretty well, but it holds a human figure, but a dinosaur, I can't get it to hold it. They're just too heavy, but it can pick up and thrash around a human figure, just like you saw here with Dr. Ian Malcolm. So now it's time for some comparisons. So here we have an Atrociraptor, like we just kind of saw a minute ago here. I believe this is a Atrociraptor tiger, I'm pretty sure. You can see there, of course, the Giganotosaurus absolutely towers over this Atrociraptor. Now, I'm not sure if these two share a scene in Jurassic World Dominion. You can see the Giganotosaurus absolutely towers over this Atrociraptor. Again, here we have Dr. Ian Malcolm for some size comparison. So we can see there, of course, the Giganotosaurus is slightly angled up again, just because that's the only way you can kind of pose it. So it is up at an angle, but it still absolutely towers over Dr. Ian Malcolm there. As you can see, even if I put him in front there, he is absolutely dwarfed by this Giganotosaurus. And then here we have the sound slashing Therizinosaurus with the new Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus. The Giga is obviously, the main body is towering over the Therizinosaurus, but the Therizinosaurus has this long upright neck. So if I have the Giganotosaurus posed up like this, the Therizinosaurus and the Giganotosaurus can look at each other face to face and have a battle. I'm not sure if these two interact in the movie or not. We'll have to wait and see on June 10th, but these look so cool together, and the Therizinosaurus is so big. I mean, you can see it's up right on top of the Giganotosaurus eye to eye with it, which is really cool. So they definitely kept this scale in mind with each other. You can see those are literally eye to eye, so that's really cool. But the Giga does dwarf the Therizinosaurus in like body mass, for example, as it should. I mean, it is a massive carnivore. These two look absolutely awesome together, so they're definitely going on my shelf together. And then here we have a T-Rex with the Giganotosaurus. So this is the epic roaring T-Rex from the Camp Cretaceous line. The Giga is slightly bigger than the T-Rex. You can see the back spikes there kind of are bigger than the T-Rex. It does go up more. The length of the figures are about the same, I would say. They are pretty close in size. If we have them head to head like this, you can see it is looking up a little bit slightly more than the T-Rex, but they are, this looks great. These definitely look good in size with each other. You can see what I mean now. The Giganotosaurus has a small head, and when I got it out of the box, I was really shocked. I thought the head would be bigger. You can see in proportion to the T-Rex, the head is much smaller on the Giganotosaurus, which is great because it makes the figure overall look more proportioned. It doesn't have a massive oversized head. And then here we have the Indominus Rex with the Giganotosaurus. Now, my Indominus Rex is kind of leaning very much so forward, as you can see. Unfortunately, over time, it's just kind of become front heavy. But if you position the body just up kind of midway like that, I think I need to bring the Giganotosaurus in the front. So if I have the Giganotosaurus in the front, I have the Indominus kind of posed in the most horizontal position I can get it. Maybe it's up a little bit more than it should be, I'm not sure, but you can see it is quite bigger than the Giganotosaurus. I didn't realize how much bigger it was, but it is actually substantially bigger. I mean, even you can see the legs there. The legs on the Indominus are up much higher. So I feel like maybe the Giganotosaurus should have been more like this Indominus size. Maybe it is a little bit too small, I'm not too sure. And again, you can see that size of the head there with the Giga is definitely much more proportionate. This Indominus had quite a big head, but this one did swallow off figures. The teeth on the Indominus are similar to the Giganotosaurus, but the Giga has those molded teeth, and it has 2 layers of teeth as well on the new Giganotosaurus, which is really, really cool. And now for some size comparisons. So here we have the Giganotosaurus with the rescue rig truck from the Mattel Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom 2018 toy line. So this was a decent sized vehicle. I mean, next to a human, you can see this vehicle is in scale with the main line. And then we have the Giganotosaurus there. So it definitely dwarfs the truck, you know, it's bigger than the truck as it should be. But I'm waiting on an official Biosyn vehicle from Mattel. I know we are getting a helicopter from Mattel, that's a Biosyn helicopter, so I'm really excited to have that displayed next to this Giganotosaurus. So that is my review of the brand new Mattel Jurassic World Dominion Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus. So overall, I actually really like this figure. I like it more than I originally thought I would. I thought maybe with the action feature, it mightn't be posable at all. I thought the body was just always going to be kind of leaned over like that, which would annoy me and it would look weird. But you can quite easily, I mean, you can just kind of get it in there and it just kind of like locks on and poses that way then. And it doesn't look too bad. It's not straight on posed. Like I said, it is over at an angle. It still looks quite cool in that position. It looks like it's kind of looking to one side, and it has a posable tail as well, like I said there. Paint overall, I was quite impressed by. There is more paint on this than the super colossal version, at least for that black paint, because there's some nice that black paint patterning on the legs there. The toe claws are painted, which is great too. There is some slight difference in the color underneath the jaw and kind of down to just where the arms are, with some of that sprayed on there as well, but it just does stop at the arms. And yeah, I mean, I got this figure, like I said, for 45 euros. 45 euros for this is actually a pretty decent price. I mean, some people don't like it, but personally, having it in hand, I'm quite happy with it. It is the mainline Giganotosaurus for Jurassic World Dominion, so, you know, I just had to have it in my collection considering I don't own the super colossal version. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to hit the like button down below, and also don't forget to subscribe if you have not already. So again, thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed my review of the brand new Mattel Jurassic World Dominion Strike and Roar Giganotosaurus. Until next time, guys, peace out. Rah, rah.